Starting with the finished product here to give you an idea of what it will look like when you're completed. I used a sprayer that I got from Lowe's. I think it was about 14 bucks. Several different ones will work. You probably want to make sure you get a 2-gallon sprayer so it'll hold enough oil for a single oil change. 20 psi pressure relief valve, Amazon. Air inlet side here is a 3/8 coupling and a 3/8 air chuck. On the outgoing side there is a 1/2-inch nipple that has it's brass, thread by thread, with nut shoulders in the center. Makes it more convenient for threading it in. A 1/2-inch ball valve, female thread each side. A fitting here with the nut shoulders again. 1/2-inch iron pipe on one end and 1/2-inch barb fitting on the other. All of that's from Lowe's. You could use plastic on this. This section here would be cheaper if you want to use plastic. This coil is a 10-foot 1/2-inch vinyl tubing. Slips right onto the barb fitting, doesn't leak. If you want to make sure you can put a hose clamp on there, you could also use Teflon tape on any of these. I did have a slight leak here at this joint, and I had to silicone it. Minimal amount of silicone, thread it back in and let it sit overnight. And then the last part here is a 1/2-inch bolt, diameter bolt that I use as a plug for the vinyl tubing. If you don't want to use air pressure, then you wouldn't need the relief valve or these fittings here. And you can just use the pump that comes with it, and these fittings down here in the hose to manually pump the oil into the fill tube. Just for general information, this is a 20 psi pop-off valve, and you can pump this by hand enough to pop off the valve. It won't blow off, but it'll start leaking. So it's this pump here is capable of pressurizing this to 20 psi. I also use regulated air here. I use about 15 pounds of air, but I put the pop-off valve in just in case I forgot to set my pressure regulator or inadvertently set it too high. All right, to start the process off here, we take the spray head, take out this dipstick, don't need that. And the reason I use the coupling in this with the air fitting is it seemed to thread better onto this. So anyway, I take the supplied cap off of that, and then thread the coupling onto that. Of course, it doesn't thread right because they're different threads, but you can kind of force it on there and gently tighten it up, snug it up. Don't want to over tighten it, it might strip it out. And you can put Teflon tape on there if you want. I'm not going to for this demonstration, but then you screw the air fitting into that coupling. And if it leaks, I can tighten it up later. And you take this side, this end, attach it to your sprayer inlet. You're kind of back feeding the tank is what you're doing. All right, the next step is I take the jug and take the all of the hoses and the pump, all that junk off of it. I take a 3/4 inch bit. You can use, this is kind of I'm going to use. I have done it with a spade bit before. It's a little bit harder to do, but it will work. Drill a hole in this thing. And you don't want to wallow that hole out at all. You want to keep it as clean as possible. And then you take your 1/2 inch coupling, set it in that hole and start threading it into it. And it probably won't thread all neat, pretty, and straight, but it will seal and hold. In an effort to make something that's a real pain look easy, I went ahead and got this thing threaded on there, and then so it's already threaded. Did it pretty much like I started off there by hand, and if it got started crooked, I would take it out and restart it, or put pressure on it to straighten it out. Took a while. Took me probably 10 or 15 minutes to get that in. That part is this is the hardest part of doing this. And I found, for me, I tried air ratchet and ratchet handle wrenches, everything else. The best thing that worked for me was just a box end, 7/8 box end. And I just put my hand down on the nipple like that and turn it slowly. It takes a while, but you just keep doing that. And check it every once in a while to make sure it's not extremely crooked. If you have girly hands, that's no problem. You can put it on like this and put a rag on it. Because what you want is pressure driving this coupling in while you're cutting it. The brass will cut the plastic and cut a kind of sort of thread in it. And once you've got that cut all the way through, you can look inside. Once the nipple's sticking all the way through, you can just go ahead and thread it on with a wrench, because once it's through, it's cut threads all the way. Now see, I goofed that up and got it started crooked, so I'll have to take it out and restart it. Now if you put one in like this and it leaks, don't panic. You didn't ruin your pump. You can take it out, lube it with silicone, seal, and put it back in, and it'll seal up just fine. You can see how I'm having an easy time here of getting this in here. Worked great when I didn't have the video running. But the key to it is patience. Don't try and do it all at once like I just did. You got to keep looking at it. Crank it and look at it. Crank it and look at it. Hey, it's going my way. Getting there. Actually looks kind of straight. Alright, we're pretty well through now. Yep, we're all the way through, so I can go ahead and take it up a little tighter. Doesn't have to be perfectly tight. It's not holding a lot of pressure. And like I said, if you have any trouble with leaks, you can take it out. Take silicone sealant, not silicone tape. You could use tape too, I suppose. Teflon tape might work. I use silicone on the other one. Wrapped it around the threads. Don't put excessive amount. You don't want to get inside the tank. And then thread it back on and let it dry, and it should be fine. Then, okay, once I had that threaded in, I know I hate to say this, but I take it back out one more time, and I clean up all of the hair around this and on the inside. To do it on the inside, I used a offset screwdriver like that and ran it around the inside, and also just used a buck knife to go around the inside. Once I got all that taken care of, then I jacked the pressure back up to about 100 pounds. And I've already cleaned this out, but just make sure you go through and clean it out very well. You don't want any scrap back in there to get into your crankcase. And I took a flashlight, shined down in there, made sure I had all of the junk out of it. And now comes the hard part of putting this back in one more time. This time it's going to go super easy. I'm not going to have any trouble at all. As you can see, it works perfectly. almost through. Okay, fairly straight. Good enough for government work. The valve, I had an old filter out of a funnel I had here. You can use just about any kind of oil screen that you can find. I didn't buy it, I just had it here. But I cut a disc out of it to fit inside this valve. So if there is any debris in there, hopefully that screen will catch it. And I put the nipple in, tighten it up, that holds the screen in. Now it helps if I turn it the right way. That should do the job. Keep the filter in there. Again, Teflon tape anywhere you feel you may need it. And then whenever you turn this on and off, it's best when it's new, it's stiff. Once that gets worked in, you won't have to worry about it. Should be okay. Okay, got your valve on there. Stick your hose on. I don't use a hose clamp on that. It fits pretty tight, but you can put a hose clamp on there. I just don't like them because they seem to catch on everything. And then I use that 1/2-inch bolt to seal the end of it. Makes a nice plug for it. All this, not sure all that's clean. That's the trouble with using tanks. You got to make sure they're clean, or you'll be putting debris back into your oil system. Hook up the air inlet line, and there's your finished apparatus. Okay, I've got about 15 pounds of air hooked up. Put some air on the tank, open the valve. There goes the oil. I just cracked the valve, I didn't open it all the way. Let's see how she does with it all the way open. You can, I don't know if you can see that, but you can get a pretty good stream going in there. And that's very few pounds of pressure. Okay, we're starting to suck air. It looks like I might have a little leak down here. I do. I have a leak where the fitting's going into the tank, so I'll have to silicone that. This may be another option you may want to do without having to hook up the air to the inlet. Oops, spilled it. You could just use the pump that's in here, and you can see by pumping it the flow that I'm getting. The flow that I'm getting is pretty good. So it wouldn't take you too long to run that in there with that pump. Now, as for me, I'm a little lazy, so I'm going to use the air, but that's an option.